Sarah Henderson had lived a life full of sacrifices to ensure her son Liam could rise above their humble beginnings. She worked two jobs and instilled in him the value of hard work, perseverance, and treating everyone with respect. Lessons that Liam carried with him as he built his business empire. Now the owner of a thriving restaurant chain, Liam's journey from dishwasher to proprietor was nothing short of remarkable. But despite his success, Liam remained grounded and deeply connected to his roots. He often credited his mother for his achievements, and she was the first to test every new menu item and critique the ambiance of his restaurants. Liam would say, "If mom's not happy, neither are my customers." This meant that if for some reason his mom was mistreated at some of his restaurants, it would be an absolute disaster. Unfortunately, that's exactly what transpired. And why, you may ask? Because of something so vile and disgusting. Something like racism. One day, Sarah decided to visit the flagship restaurant, the Gourmet Haven, without informing Liam. She loved the place but hadn't been there in months. She wanted to surprise him with her feedback, as she always did. She knew how much it meant to her son, so she was always happy to do so when she was close by. Dressed in her modest floral dress and carrying a small handbag, she walked through the restaurant's grand entrance, inhaling the tantalizing aroma of gourmet cuisine. Even though she was a woman in her mid-50s, Sarah looked stunning. Based on her appearance alone, it could be clearly seen that she was someone who wasn't there to cause any trouble. The restaurant was bustling with diners, but Sarah managed to catch the eye of a waiter, a young man in his early 20s. His name tag read Kyle. Sarah smiled warmly and said, "Excuse me, dear, could you please help me find a table?" Kyle's glance was fleeting and dismissive. "We're full," he replied curtly, barely pausing to look at her. Kyle just continued to his destination, as if nothing happened, as if he hadn't just dismissed a potential customer without even properly checking the restaurant's table availability. Sarah's face fell. She scanned the dining area and noticed several empty tables. She patiently waited for Kyle to walk by again, and when he did, she decided to give him another chance. "Oh, it looks like you have space," she said kindly, pointing to one near the window. Kyle topped this time, sighed, and crossed his arms. "Those are reserved. You'll need to leave if you don't have a reservation, and I really don't have time to waste here anymore." Taken aback, Sarah tried again. "I understand reservations are important, but perhaps I could wait, since thankfully I do have time. I'd really love to dine here today." Regardless of Kyle's rudeness, she said this with a kind smile, radiating nothing but understanding and patience. But Kyle didn't care. His demeanor grew even colder. "We don't accommodate walk-ins during peak hours. You'll have to go somewhere else." Other diners began to notice the exchange, their murmurs filling the room. It's usually the customers that make a scene in this situation, but this time it was the waiter. Seeing the surrounding commotion, Sarah's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She looked around, hoping for someone, anyone, to intervene, but Kyle's dismissive tone made it clear she wasn't welcome. Just as Sarah was about to leave, disappointed and hurt, a familiar voice called out, "Mom, what are you doing here?" Sarah turned to see Liam striding towards her, his tailored suit and confident presence commanding attention. Relief washed over her face as she replied, "I wanted to surprise you, sweetheart, but it seems I'm not allowed to stay." Liam's eyes narrowed as he looked at Kyle. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Kyle's face turned pale. He suddenly realized the woman he dismissed was related to the man whose name was on the building. And to make matters even worse, it was his beloved mom he heard so much about. I didn't know she was your—" "That shouldn't matter," Liam interrupted, his voice sharp. "Every customer deserves respect, regardless of who they are." Kyle stammered, I thought she was just what?" Liam's tone was icy. "Not dressed like the typical customer? Not important enough for your attention?" Liam said, while looking Kyle directly in his eyes with a piercing look of anger. By now, the entire restaurant was silent, all eyes on the confrontation. Kyle was speechless, standing in the middle of the diner as a decorative statue. Liam turned to his mom, Sarah, and said, "Come with me, Mom. Let's get you seated." He led her to the best table in the house, right by the window with a view of the city. Pulling out the chair for her, he said, "Order whatever you like. Dinner's on me." Sarah smiled gently. "Thank you, Liam, but you didn't have to make a scene." Regardless of what happened to her, she was seemingly already over it. But Liam was pissed. "Sometimes a scene is necessary," Liam replied, his gaze returning to Kyle once again. "Excuse me for a moment, Mom." Liam walked back to the young waiter, who stood there, still frozen in place. "Follow me," Liam said, his tone leaving no room for argument. In the privacy of his office, Liam addressed Kyle. "What you did out there was unacceptable. My mother is one thing, but I wonder how many other customers you've treated this way. Is this how you represent my restaurant? If I wasn't your boss, would you treat me like that as well?" Kyle fidgeted with his hands. "I didn't mean to offend anyone. I just thought—" "You thought wrong," Liam said firmly, interrupting Kyle before he could finish his answer. "This establishment is built on inclusivity and respect. If you can't embody those values, you don't belong here," Liam said. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Henderson," Kyle said, his voice breaking. "Please give me another chance. I'll make sure that something like this never happens again." Liam looked the young man up and down for a moment before replying. "You're on probation, effective immediately, and you'll come to work for additional mandatory training. You will be trained by Lamar. He is a manager from another restaurant of mine. If I see even a hint of this behavior again with him, or during the training he will give you, you're gone. Understand?" Kyle nodded vigorously. "Yes, sir. Thank you for giving me another chance." Liam dismissed him and returned to the dining area, where Sarah was enjoying a bowl of the restaurant's signature soup. She looked up as he approached and said, "You handled that well, son, but don't be too hard on him. Everyone deserves a chance to grow," she said with the same kind smile she came with. Liam smiled. "You're too kind, Mom, but you're right. Hopefully he'll learn from this. I decided to have our cousin Lamar train him in customer service. Hopefully with that, he will see that racism is a thing of the past since Lamar is married to a white woman." Sarah sighed and said, "I really think that the young man was tired and nothing more than that." The rest of the evening passed peacefully. Sarah savored her meal, and Liam took time to greet other diners, ensuring everyone felt welcomed. The incident with Kyle weighed on him, but he knew it was a lesson worth teaching, both for his staff and himself. Racism can't be part of his diner. He didn't care about people's skin tone. All he cared about was fostering a kind and positive environment, like the one his mother made for him while he was growing up. Later that night, as Liam escorted Sarah to her car, she turned to him and said, "You've built something truly special here, Liam. Not just a restaurant, but a place where people feel they belong." Liam hugged her tightly. "I learned from the best, Mom." As they said their goodbyes, Liam reflected on the day. His mother's unwavering support and the values she'd instilled in him were the foundation of his success. And as long as he was in charge, the gourmet haven would remain a place where everyone, no matter who they were, was treated with dignity and respect. Did you ever experience a moment where you had to stand up for what was right? Share your story in the comments below.